All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to RTF Sports Talk. We have breaking news in the sports world. Came out last night about 8 or 9 o'clock on the East Coast. Urban Meyer's 3-game suspension. I'm joined today here with Billy Hatton. Billy, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. Ready to get to this topic right here, man.
Well, we're going to get into the topic right after the intro here, so join us in about 5 seconds.
I'm not really sure what happened.
If you came to prove, there's no reason to prove.
RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk.
And now you've got yourself something funky.
RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk. RTF Sports Talk.
All right, and welcome back to RTF Sports Talk here. I'm the host, Michael Buckheiser. As most of you know, Urban Meyer has had a 3-game suspension handed down to him from the Board of Trustees and also the athletic director. Forget his name, but his name is Mr. Smith. He was suspended 3 games as well. Well, technically 3 games.
Gene Smith.
Yeah, Gene Smith. He comes back August 16th. So basically, I just want your thoughts on this, Billy. Is this suspension warranted? Is it too much? Is it not enough? Just let us have it, man.
I honestly think that this suspension is not enough, if you ask me. He only got 3 games when he blatantly lied about knowing anything about the situation. When he was first asked about it, he said, and I quote, "I was never told about anything, and nothing ever came to light. I've never had a conversation about it. I know nothing about it," which that was false, because in his press conference just, a few weeks ago or last month, he said that his statement wasn't accurate and it wasn't clear. And, he didn't try to deceive anyone. Well, it does sound like you tried to deceive someone, because you knew about the situation and you blatantly got up on the stand and lied about it. So to me, I didn't think, my initial thought was he was going to get fired. But then once I took a step back and I thought about it, in football, the only thing people care about is winning and losing. And being that he's a winner, speaking of record, I knew that they were only going to hand him down a suspension. But I think that this punishment is way too light for a guy who blatantly lied about knowing anything about domestic violence. Not to mention, back in 2009, when he was the head coach at Florida, this same guy was a graduate assistant under him, and he got got arrested for aggravated battery to his wife, but the charges was dropped because they said it was insufficient evidence. So you already knew of the caliber of guy that you were dealing with. So you bring him to Ohio State, and then now there's another issue come out, and Urban Meyer said he was just being like he only kept him on the staff because his grandfather was a mentor to him. So he's yep. Like a loyalty thing. That has nothing to do with someone openly putting their hands on their wife. So to me, I think the punishment was a little bit light, but that's the way that the sports world works. If you can throw a football, or you can coach real good, or you can hit somebody, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to get off.
And I agree with you 100% there. And just to add a little fuel to this fire, he did turn over his cell phone with the text messages and stuff, and it is reported that the text messages only went back a year now. So basically, he tried to wipe his phone clean from all the past doings that he may have had contact with Zach Smith or the athletic director. His name's Gene Smith, right?
Yeah, Gene Smith.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then I also have seen reports of him saying that he is suffering from memory loss. He is forgetting key details. Matthew and Chris Hill had a talk about this on the Big Blue Breakdown last night. As the news came out, we were on the air, and we kind of alluded to that every time something like this happens, say, the pressure of Urban Meyer starts to crack down on him for scandals, covering stuff up, etc. He conveniently has a medical condition. He starts getting this heart problems, or for this case, he starts dealing with memory loss. Do you have anything to add on that? Like, are you kind of starting to see a trend like this as well, or are we reaching a little too much for that?
No, I honestly think you guys are right on the head. That's what happened at Florida. He said he had some heart problems or whatever, and he wanted to watch his daughter. Do her college thing or high school thing or whatever that was, and then 1 year later he's back coaching. I think Urban Meyer. Yeah, I think he just conveniently always finds a way to try to get out of things. And honestly, to me, I think he got off scot-free in this, man. 3 games, no pay. I mean, he makes more than that. So just, and then it's convenient how his text messages only go back. Now, he said that she never texted him or none of that other stuff. He texts his wife now. I've been married before. And 9 times out of 10, if somebody works for you and they tell your wife that, hey, my husband did this to me, I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure that she said something to him, which is the reason how he probably knew about it in the first place. But
Correct.
He tried to cover it up because, like I said, nobody really cares about all the outside stuff when it's concerned to football. Listen, just don't mess up my football. It's kind of the same thing was going on in the NFL about the protest. Just don't mess up my football. That's, the so-called Patriots. So just, when it comes to domestic violence, a lot of the sports world like to turn a blind eye. And I think that's what Urban Meyer did because he didn't think that this thing was going to get as big as it was. But you have a duty and you have an obligation to also, the mom, not really the moms, but, to take care of their kids and the wives of the staff. When somebody's telling you their husband abused them, and this is definitely not the first time that this has come up, I mean, I think you would at least approach it with a little bit more caution, instead of the way he did. You get up on the stand and lie. I think he probably should have been fired if you ask me. I think that's a fireable offense when you exactly knew what happened and you chose to just look the other way because he kept him on the staff. He just fired him just recently.
Yeah, the 25th.
And this incident happened. Yeah, and this incident happened back in 2015. So obviously you're not sorry. You really didn't care about her well-being because you left him with a job after the second time that this incident has come up. And now you conveniently don't remember anything. Yeah, right. So that means we don't need you as a head football coach if you can't remember things because your job is to remember things.
So, Billy, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit here. Let me put a disclaimer out there. I do not condone domestic violence or anything in that matter whatsoever. But Urban Meyer's wife has come out and said that she did not tell Urban because she basically did not believe Courtney. Because apparently this has been an ongoing thing. She's been blaming Zach Smith about violence for months and months and months before she came to, I believe her name is Elizabeth Meyer. I could be wrong, but it is Urban Meyer's wife. So she has publicly said that she did not tell Urban because she did not believe Courtney. Do you think there's any truth to that at all?
I think that is not true at all. To me, I think this is and I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure this is a case of her protecting her husband. 100%. Because at the end of the day, she has to go home and sleep with him. She doesn't have a job, and their primary source for their family is her husband being a head coach of a football team. So, of course, she's going to say whatever she got to say to make sure that her husband's name is cleared in all of this. Because at the end of the day, Zach Smith is already fired. he's already gone. So now her only job is to protect her husband, protect her family. Now, I also know this. Women telling other women about them being domestically, a domestic violence situation, about them being abused. To say that a woman don't believe another woman, I mean, just look at social media nowadays and see how hard women go for women in these comments about them getting abused and all of this other stuff. So to say that she didn't believe that she was getting abused, that to me, I just think that's false.
That's a bold-faced lie.
I guess you can't
tell it.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, come on.
Lie.
You didn't believe it? Yeah, you didn't believe it? That makes no sense to me. That literally makes no sense to me. And the fact that you say you didn't tell him, sure you didn't tell him. So how else did he find out about it?
So, and just
because
to add, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I say just to add more fuel to the fire, I just read another report here that Gene Smith advised Urban Meyer to fire Zach Smith back in 2016 when Urban told him about this domestic violence, or basically something happened. The report's kind of unclear, but Gene Smith advised Urban to fire him back in 2016, but Urban decided not to. So that is when I believe the cover-up started to like happen, like in the end. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. It just proves my point, or further boosts my argument that Urban Meyer should be fired. When your boss is telling you that you should fire this guy, and you think, oh man, yeah, his grandfather was just cool, he was my mentor, I'm just doing him a solid, but your boss is telling you to do something different and you chose not to do it. I understand you the head football coach, but in something like this, the situation that we have at hand, we're not talking about a guy stole some stuff from the store, or just got in a normal street fight at a bar or something like that. We're talking about a guy putting his hand on a woman.
Well, let me just stop you right there. Let me stop right there. If Zach Smith would have got in a bar fight, he would have probably got suspended that very next day. Do you not agree with that?
That's probably true. If it came out that he was at a bar drinking and got in a fight, yeah, I do agree that he probably would have got suspended, if not probably fired already. But see, that goes to my point. In football, we don't care about the women, really. It's just, hey, man, go out there and get them wins for me. Whatever else you do, I don't really care about, which is the reason why the NFL never really had a domestic violence policy.
Until Ray Rice.
All of this stuff blew up. Yeah, until all the stuff blew up with Ray Rice. Because at first, they tried to only suspend him for 2 games until they seen the video, and then they tried to go back and resuspend him, and then they tried to make a domestic violence policy. That shows you that they care nothing about it. Urban Meyer has already proven that he cares nothing about it. 2009 should have been his first indicator. All right, the charges was dropped. All right, I can't really do anything being that the charges was dropped. You wasn't proven guilty. But then it happens again. Listen, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's quack like a duck, it's probably a duck. This is the second time that this has happened with the same exact guy. It can't be a smoke screen every single time.
Right.
So this is just showing you Urban Meyer really didn't care about domestic violence, being that he didn't fire Zach Smith. He only fired him just to cover his behind, and it was already 3 years after the fact. What does that do 3 years after the fact? You suspending him about an issue that happened in 2015.
Well,
it just sounds like you're trying to cover your tracks.
Let me tell you, it does nothing. But let me give you a little a chain of events for Mr. Zach Smith here. So 2009, he did have the arrest. Charges were ultimately dropped, I do believe. 2013, he got a DUI charge, which Urban supposedly did not know about. But how do you know that your quote unquote close friend, coworker did not get a DUI? That was never reported to the AD. So therefore, Zach Smith was driving on a suspended license for at least 2 or 3 months, recruiting high school kids to come play for Ohio State. And then 2015, $2,500 worth of sex toys were delivered to the athletic department for Zach Smith. 2015, he was cheating on his wife with a quote-unquote person close to the football team, which is probably a trainer or something to that effect. And
Sounds
then,
like a GA or something. Yeah.
And then also when Ohio State visited the White House, there was timestamps of him taking naked pictures in the presidential bathrooms. So this is a chain events of cover up after cover up after cover up by Urban Meyer and Zach Smith himself. Do you not agree with that?
Yeah, this is that's definitely what it sounds like. It sounds like also a guy who was trouble. I mean, most of that stuff is normal, but I guess when you think about the timelines of what actually happened, it seems like he was trying to cover up something from his wife, that is, and probably the cheating. You send sex toys to the athletic facility instead of sending them home where I guess you were supposed to use them with your wife. You send them to the athletic department. It seems like Urban Meyer not missed the warning signs, but it seemed like he intentionally tried to miss the warning signs in hopes that this stuff would die down, in hopes that Zach Smith would get his stuff together. And he didn't, and if he was really trying to be a friend to him, if he was really trying to be loyal, he should have got him some help, instead of trying to cover it up. I guess people think football heals everything, let him be around the guys, and that's going to help him out. But when you got a guy like Zach Smith, I think letting him go would have probably been the best thing for him so he can get himself together. But definitely, man, these guys try to cover it up. Urban Meyer, that is, since he's the head football coach. All I heard about in Louisville when that scandal went down in Louisville was Rick Pitino might not have knew, but he's the head coach. And that goes the same thing for Urban Meyer.
Yep.
Whether you knew or not, you're the head coach of the football team. It's your job to know what's going on.
Joe Paterno.
Exactly. Same thing with Joe Paterno on Penn State. They might not say that Joe knew, but guess what? They say he was the head coach of the football team at that time, and it's your job to know. So why is Urban Meyer getting off scot-free? Everybody else has been fired. But I tell you what, it's a new day where, like I say, they only care about the bottom line. Are you bringing us money into this program? And right now, they know if they had fired Urban Meyer, their games probably wouldn't have been as sold out.
Well,
so
let me ask you
keep them
this.
on the roster, you suspend them.
Let me ask you this. I believe Urban Meyer's contract is guaranteed. So, therefore, they would have had to pay a pretty hefty buyout cause if they were to fire Urban Meyer. So, do you think maybe Ohio State is protecting their bottom line at the end of the day? Like, you know what? Maybe we don't want to quite pay him $60 million to buy out his contract and let him go. So we're just going to slap him with this 3-game suspension, make the world think, hey, we are doing something, but maybe not enough, maybe too much. But at the end of the day, we don't want our bottom line affected. Do you think that has a big issue to do with why he wasn't fired?
I think it was a small portion of why they didn't fire him, because from what I read in his contract, if they had found him to be untruthful, per university standards and the ethics, they didn't have to pay him that buyout, which it turns out he did lie about not knowing. That's part of ethics.
But he doesn't remember if he lied or not. Right.
Yeah. So it would have been a hard case to try to prove that, he did or he didn't. So I think they just went the safe route because they didn't want to drag this suspension or drag this investigation out through the season, because the season starts in a couple weeks, in 2 weeks to it, in a week and a half,
9 days.
2 weeks. Yeah, the season starts. So they didn't want to drag this out all the way through the football season, have that hanging over the program head. And especially with college football, man, college football, it has everything to do with recruiting. And when these recruits see this, you think they parents want them to go to a university like that. So yeah, I think they just took the easy way out. Let's go ahead and suspend them right now. That way we don't have to worry about doing this lengthy investigation. That way we can probably keep our recruiting class intact, because a lot of these guys are probably only committed to Ohio State just for Urban Meyer. It happened with Florida State when Jimbo Fisher left to go to Texas A&M. A lot of recruits left because Jimbo Fisher was leaving. So I think they were just trying to protect their recruiting class. They were trying to protect the legacy of Ohio State. So I think they just took the cheap way out. Let's just suspend him for 3 games. Maybe like you said, maybe he learns his lesson. We showing the public that, hey, we do care about this situation because we suspended Urban Meyer and our AD. I think it's all lip service.
Okay, so let's reach out. This is, say it's mid-December. Ohio State is 10-1, and your Florida State is 10-1, and say their wins are equal, like they're evenly matched teams on paper, etc., and they're both vying for that four spot in the BCS playoffs. Do you think the committee kind of punishes Ohio State, saying, "Hey, you know what? We're not a big fan of what Ohio State did here," and they'll let Florida State in? Do you think that's a possibility that the BCS kind of shuns them for these actions?
I honestly don't think so. I think that the committee would love to have Ohio State back in the college football playoffs. I mean, they've been in there every single year except for last year. So I think, and the only reason why they didn't put them in last year because of they went with Alabama instead. So and Florida State don't have the cachet as of right now of Alabama, to me, honestly, even of the Ohio State being what Ohio State did in that run for the national championship in this college football playoff era. Their last known remembrance of Florida State in the college football playoffs was them getting smacked by Marcus Mariota in the Oregon Ducks.
Right.
So I think if they pick at it, I think they'll still go Ohio State just because of Urban over Taggart.
So let's just say, hypothetically, again here, they have a mediocre season. They go 500, maybe 600. Do you think Urban Meyer gets let go at the end of the season because of the mediocre?
Oh no! I think they'll chalk it up as we had a lot of distractions this year. We know what Urban can do since he's been here. So I think he's the one quarterback not quarterback. He's the one coach that's allowed to have a bad season, especially amid these investigations and the suspension. I'm not sure what the guidelines of his suspension is. Can he be around the team or any of that other stuff right now? But I think this would be his one little, okay, don't let it happen no more though.
Yeah. So famous words from Al Davis, just win, baby, win, right?
Hey, that's the only thing that matters, man. In this day and age in sport, just win, man. If you can, like I said, if you can rush the passer, or you can coach, or you can throw a football. Listen, man, it doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter what happened. You're going to get another chance.
Prime example is the defensive end that played for the Panthers, and then the Cowboys picked him up. His name slipping my mind right now.
Oh, Greg Hardy.
Oh, yep. But
if you can rush the passer, man, and he could do it, you're gonna get extra opportunities more than anybody else. Look at Ray Rice. I thought he at least had a little bit more left in the tank. No other team wanted to. No team even wanted to go near him. No team wanted to go near him. And he, to this day, he still haven't got a job coaching or doing anything. So, hey man, that's the harsh reality.
Well, just to pile on the Ray Rice thing, I think he is kind of like a Kaepernick issue. They are shunning him just to set an example. Like, hey, this is not acceptable, so we're going to make an example out of you. But if anybody else happens to do it, there's a quote unquote precedent set of you will be suspended for 4 games or 6 games or however much it is. But they still have to set that example for Ray Rice, saying, "Hey, you are not allowed back in the league anymore because of what you did." Like, do you kind of agree with that, or am I reaching there as well?
Well, I think you're probably head on, but I think it's also another layer of it too. I think that they were just trying to cover it up. think they was trying to cover their tracks because they had messed up so bad. I mean, you think about it. You hear about a guy knocked out his wife in the elevator and you only give him 2-game suspension. Yeah, that's only 2-game worthy right there. And then, you know, they see the video and they're like, oh man, like he like really like, he really like hit her, you know. And then they start getting the public outcry from all the women, you know, all the women organizations, you know, was talking about boycotting football and the NFL don't care about the women. And, you know, a lot of the viewers, they started interviewing people and the women were saying, yeah, we're going to stop watching football. And I think they just thought that they had to do something to kind of get their reputation back. And Roger Goodell's been a guy, he's been unfair. So, you know, he's hearing all this and he's thinking about, man, our bottom line is going to be affected here. You know, people start watching, you know, so we got to do something. And then I think that's why they did that to Ray Rice. I think it was more of a cover-up job, but I think you're also correct that, hey, you the first, we're going to make an example out of you. You're going to be our guinea pig to show people that if you do this, this is what's going to happen to you.
So, Billy, you are on record saying that Urban Meyer should have been fired, correct?
Urban Meyer should have been fired. I said it the first day that he should have been fired, but I knew they wasn't going to fire him. But, yeah, I think he should be fired.
And I am on record saying that he probably shouldn't have been fired, but a 3-game suspension is not enough. It should have been a year.
Yeah.
Maybe a little, like, something a year plus something, like maybe vacate a postseason berth or a bowl game or something to that effect, just to take everybody into account because like yes, it falls on Urban Meyer at the end of the day because he is the head the head coach. But what about those other staff members that knew about it like well and kind of just said, okay, we'll follow Meyer because he's our head coach, you know? So, like,
I mean, you take my Florida State Seminoles into the same exact thing. Bobby Bowden had to vacate, you know, over 100 some wins just because of guys was getting free shoes from the mall and was ineligible to play. So I think easily, man, I think these guys he should at least. They should at least have to probably vacate some wins or, you know, like you said, he should have just been suspended for at least a year, you know, because this is just pathetic, man. Honestly, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's just a slap on the wrist. But there's nothing we can do because we're just normal guys, normal folks. Billy, where can people find your podcast at?
Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Beaker, Stitcher, Radio Public. It's called Unpopular Opinion. Make sure you guys tune in Monday through Friday. This is where I do the podcast. Hey, man, come join me. So come subscribe, share the podcast, have a listen, have some feedback.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, if you do follow the podcast, I get an update on my phone every time Billy posts something new. So if you just follow it, you will get an alert every time it's up. So just be sure to follow that and give it a 5-star ranking at the end of the day, and help my man spread his knowledge. Billy, as always, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys on Sunday, 9:45 on the AM.
See you, man.
Have a good day, Billy.
All right, see you. Appreciate it.